next to gaming, it's the only thing I really like to do. So,
Food and
uh,
mom.
that's right.
I played a game yesterday that combines both of your favorite things,
And I
Jeremiah,
can't wait to hear about it.
and I'll talk about that.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Spellstorm Miniatures, a show about miniature war games, including War Machine and Hordes by Privateer Press. Our goal here is simply to inspire you to play more. My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Chad.
And we have a very exciting episode for you today. Everything we do is exciting. It's my favorite word, I think. But actually, today is kind of exciting because we're looking forward, and we're looking forward to a lot of things. And so we're going to cover a few of those things in our topic today. But before we get there, have you guys played any games recently?
More of the same for me. Just a little bit of video gaming, and yeah, soon. But
Soon, very soon. Yeah. How about you, Chad?
I started playing some Diablo 3 with a couple of my buddies that I've been playing games with since like summer last year. They're buddies of mine from high school that we've known each other for a super long time, but we don't really live close to each other, so we don't get together at all.
Yeah.
We haven't. Oh man, I don't even remember the last time that like Jeremy, Nick, David, and I were all together. That was eons ago. But Jeremy and I had hung out before and played board games and stuff different times, or played Magic. But we've been playing some various video games together like the last 9 months or so. And there's a new season for Diablo 3 that popped open, which means new set items and stuff like that. It recreates a new ladder for best performance and stuff. So we started playing again. It's been fun doing it. Like Diablo 3 is one of those same fun kind of still fun, mindless, top-down hack and slashers that we just all have a lot of nostalgia around because we played a lot of Diablo 2 back in the day and that type of stuff. But the other thing that I got to do is one of my other friends got to come over yesterday, and my roommates and I and our friend played a board game called Rival Restaurants that my roommate Phil had backed a Kickstarter for.
This is I want to hear about.
Yeah, so the idea is kind of like the show Chopped, where you've got different chefs that have to like run to the pantry and grab their ingredients and everything like that, and there's like limited stuff that you get. Or maybe I don't remember which cooking show does that, if it's Chopped or something else, but I know that that's a theme on one of them. So the idea is every single player has a random restaurant, different themed Italian, Mexican food, Vietnamese, that type of thing. And then you have a sous chef that you get randomly that has a different ability. And everyone gets a handful of ingredients. There's 6 different shops to buy ingredients from. There's your vegetables, your fruits, your carbs, your dairy, your meat market, and then there's another one called Mystery, which has some of the random things: chocolate, special sauce, tofu, and they all have different prices. Those are the different ingredients you get. So you, as a player, send your chef out every single day after you get your morning money out to a shop to buy ingredients to try and cook your dish. Every restaurant starts with a gourmet recipe and a basic recipe that require different ingredients. They create different amounts of trash. But then when you make them for the day. You don't have to cook every single day. But when you make a recipe, you get a certain amount of thumbs up likes, and that levels up your restaurant. And the point of the game is to be the first restaurant to get to 20 points. Now, whenever you make food, it creates trash, and you have to go to a specific area. So there's 6 different little market counters that you can go to for ingredients. There's another one called the Island, which is where you go to pay to get rid of trash. But then you can also buy upgrades for your restaurant, like a basic cooking book. You can buy a double burner, which allows you to cook both of your recipes in the same day when you would normally have to pick one or the other. You can get social media advertising, which gives you extra money every single round. Those kind of things, and then you can also buy action cards there, and a couple other things. So it was a super fun game because there's a little bit of hecticness to it, because there's 3 different rounds. The first round is your move and money, where you get your money at the start of the round. Normally everyone gets 300. If you have other things that give you stuff, you get 100. Like the social media gives you an extra 100. And then you go to the buy and barter section. During this time, the chefs all go to the different counters to get their ingredients. You can buy any ingredient that are on the counter, or you can buy them blind off the top of the deck. And then you only have 60 seconds, 90 seconds. You only have 90 seconds to do this. You have a little hourglass, and once it's done, you have to go back. Yeah. So the buying part is timed, because then you can also barter with other chefs to trade for ingredients or buy ingredients off of other people or things like that, or play action cards to kind of like disrupt other people. And then once that's done, you go back to your restaurant, and if you have the ingredients to cook, you cook, and then you gain different points and things like that, and then it starts back over again. So
what happens if you don't have the ingredients to cook?
Then you just don't cook that day. Nothing bad happens. And if you have trash, you don't lose likes for having trash there. The trash only affects you. So like after you make food, it'll sometimes create trash. And if you don't get rid of it, what happens is if you still have trash in your restaurant, when you go to cook that day, you lose a number of likes equal to the amount of trash that you have. So it can be really detrimental. But it's not like a day by day where, if you don't cook and you have 2 bags of trash that you didn't get rid of, then you lose 2 likes. It doesn't work like that. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to check to see if maybe we can get it in at the store. See if maybe we can bring it in, because it's super fun. The chefs all have different abilities. All the restaurants have different things when you level them up. And then also if you get bonuses for cooking certain dishes. So like if you have a French restaurant and you cook a French dish in your restaurant, then you get a bonus like when you make the recipe. And
that would be appropriate. Yeah. I like food-based games. One of my favorite Steve Jackson games is Ninja Burger, and it's awesome. And it's more less board gamey and more kind of RPG card gamey kind of thing. But it's one of my favorites, and just the idea that it's centered around food and I get to be a ninja. So, but that's cool. Yeah. I like good games.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. One other thing I forgot to mention this before the show, but I wanted to give a shout out to the hosts of War Nouns, who is another group that is in our Discord that shares their episodes. I wanted to give a shout out to them because they actually came into Runa Board to check out the store and purchase some stuff and say hi to me. And I got to be super awkward when meeting them because I was in the middle of doing something else, and then I don't get recognized as being a podcast host very often, and so they were like, "Is there a storm of miniatures around here?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I just kind of froze, and I'm like, my brain's breaking. I don't know. I'm trying to do something, and they were like, "Oh, I listened to Spellstorm Miniatures. Like I'm one of the hosts of War Nouns." I was like, "Oh my gosh,
that's awesome."
Sorry, my brain is broken right now. I'm also the only person in the store trying to do 2 other things at the same time. So, they gave us a shout out on one of their recent episodes they came in, and I wanted to reciprocate. You should go check them out. They're pretty new. They're both pretty new to War Machine, and so they bring kind of a new player view and aspect to analyzing the game, talking about fluff, talking about different factions and stuff like that. So go
I
check
actually
them out if you
appreciate that.
haven't already. So
It's super fresh. I like them. I appreciate that about them.
yeah,
I've been cranking it out. Plus a troll player on there, so
yeah,
Yeah.
trolls.
Yeah.
yeah. They came in and they snagged some of the Wintertime Wasteland Kickstarter exclusive miniatures that we had at the store. They didn't
Nice.
see them at first, and they came over and they had a couple of Riot Quest things, and I was like, we have some exclusive Kickstarter exclusive miniatures over there, and they're like, really?
Tell us
So
more.
yeah, I think they ended up grabbing 2 or 3 of the Kickstarter exclusive miniatures that we had
Very cool. Very
still
cool.
left over. So
Fun models.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of miniatures, I got a couple of miniatures games in since the last time we recorded.
what?
Yeah, for
We don't
real.
do that here, Jeremiah. Stop being an overachiever.
We shifted to board games and
Video games.
and
Yeah.
games.
Well, you know, it's been a
We're a
weird year
board game
for
podcast now.
yeah. For a while, we were a Magic the Gathering podcast.
Yeah, right.
But okay, no. I got a game of Heavy Gear Blitz in, and Heavy Gear, I guess, has been around for a long time. Some of our listeners may be familiar with the IP. I think it's similar, I think, to like BattleTech, in the sense that you're dealing with smaller scale, and I think they call them frames. I think is what they call them, instead of mechs or whatever. And you have so they have like several RPG books out. So a lot of folks probably have RPG'd in that world, and then of course they have the wargame side, which is called Blitz. So Heavy Gear Blitz, and they're on hex bases, just like BattleTech. They are, but except for the infantry. I'll talk about the infantry in a second. But they play on, just like we played on a 4x4 with 3D terrain, just like I would play, Warhammer or Infinity or even War Machine. Sometimes we use 3D terrain for War Machine, and so you're measuring, and it's not a hex based thing where BattleTech. The only time I've played BattleTech has been on hex based.
Yeah.
So the infantry. There were 2 styles of infantry on the table. The old infantry were 2 very tiny dudes on a smaller hex base, and so in order to play in the modern rules, what you do is you take a set of 3 of them, and you just kind of connect them and make like a triad, and then just keep them in that formation as they move. The modern infantry is all 6 dudes on like a 40 millimeter circular base, I think. So, but we played roughly a 25 power level. I don't remember what the word is, which would be about a fourth of a full game. And the forces were about equal. We had both sides had a couple kind of generic mech dudes, and then a infantry, and then 1 like special mech dude. And we had 2 objectives that were sort of in the middle of the table that we had to fight for. One of them, the one closest to us, we had to sort of defend, and the one farther away, we had to try to get to try to take away. And so, with so few models on the table, it was very challenging. In the end, what ended up happening, I'll tell you what happened in the end in a second. But the thing that I love about this is it uses very simple math. It just does it in a different way. So you roll 2 dice is the basic mechanic. Different abilities allow you to add and subtract dice and things like that. But you're going to roll 2 dice, and let's say your to hit is a 4 up. If you roll like a 6 and a 1, your end result is a 6. But if you roll like a 6 and a 4, since your stat was 4 up, that 4 adds to the 6, making your result a 7. And likewise, the defense is going to do that too. So let's say I got to roll 3 dice, and I rolled a 4, 5, and a 6. The 4 and the 5 add +1 to the 6, making my roll an 8. And then let's say the defender rolls 2 and rolls, a 5 and a 6. The 5 adds to the 6, making it a 7. My 8 beats his 7. And then you do the War Machine style. There's an armor value, and so your damage plus the difference between the attack and the defense, and you just subtract their armor, and then that's how many they take. But the thing is, we're dealing with single-digit numbers. It's really small. Like my fancy frame had like 4 hull points and 2 structures, and so you got to plink through the hole, then you get to the 2 structures, then they're gone. And so it's not like we're doing like hard math, and there's not like big numbers. They're all single digit numbers. So that's the thing that I liked about it. And there's a few other things that I like about it in general. There's quite a few folks on our local scene that are starting to look at heavy gear, because they're sort of in beta for their 3rd edition, and so quite a few people are doing the beta testing, and so Than was our teacher. So Than ran one side, and then Oz and I run the other, because we played outside. We played on the 6-foot table, so we were on ends of the table. We had masks on, and Oz and I were basically the same side, and Than did a great job of just walking us through, explaining everything. And of course, since both Oz and I are wargamers, we picked it up really easy, And so it was north against the south. There are basically, I think, 4 like humanoid type factions, and then 4 like alien type factions, I guess. There's 8 factions, and they break down as 4 and 4, but I can't remember all the details. And so 2 of the main factions on the human side are the North versus the South, and not in the way that Americans think about North versus the South. It's just geographically located on their fictional map. And so we played, and Ozzy and I basically, I let him make the offensive decisions, and I sort of made the defensive decisions, was sort of how we played. And because right away, I think we had initiative, and the first thing Oz does is goes right behind this plateau and takes a shot at his big mech, and just, and he got to roll like all these dice because of certain abilities, and he does a total of 1 damage. And I was like, that looked amazing, and it sounded awesome, but the result did not match, not what I thought it was. Yeah. And I had made the comment to Oz. I was like, "Oh, you're going for it," and he goes, "Yeah, this is what I do. I go for it." We all know Oz, but so anyway, it was a fantastic introduction. It's one of the easiest games probably ever to get into, because no matter which faction you buy, if you buy the army box, you have a minimum of 100 points right out of the box, anyway, depending on which army you get, and so you could easily play 100 immediately right out of the box. And the only thing is you get to, and it's all on sprues, and so you get to choose what weapons you want. As a new player, I wouldn't, like, if I wanted to have a competitive force, I wouldn't know which ones are the better ones yet right away. I'd have to do a little bit more reading. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick the rule of cool is what I would most likely do. So, but initial introduction to Heavy Gear Blitz, super solid, like super solid. So, and then Oz and I got to play a game of War Machine on Saturday. Heyo!
What?
So yeah, it was awesome. So I have, the storm wall that I have been trying to repair and kind of touch up and paint. So I decided that I wanted to put Maddox on the table with a storm wall. And so he comes down, and we didn't discuss who we were playing. And so he comes down with none other than Fexus. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, so you have all these amazing troll stuff. And he goes, yeah, I should play trolls against you. Like, and he should. He really should. So, so anyway, it was a little bit back and forth. We did one of the scenarios that were sort of beta tested before the last Steamroller came out. Like I had done just a Google search, and I discovered a scenario that that never got published, but it was like talked about on like one of the Private Press email things, and
Okay.
and so it had it had one circle zone. It had a total of 2 objectives and 3 flags, and the
Oh, I
you know
think
what
I
I'm talking
know which
about.
one.
There's a flag in the middle of the circle, and then on the other end of the table, to let's say my right, there's a set of flag and objective that are like 4 inches apart from each other, close
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, and then a set that are farther away from me, close to Oz,
Yeah.
right? So, so anyway, so he ambushes 2 units in onto the circle. It was just a mess of because I had my storm guard infantry, storm blade infantry. I don't know the ones with the glaives, and then I had the ones with the swords, both occupying there. And he ambushes in some pirates, and then some drudges, and he, and thankfully I had the Storm Division armor bonus because of the theme.
Mm.
Although otherwise he would have done a lot more damage. There were quite a few where he missed armor cracking by like 1 or 2, and so
Yeah.
if I didn't have unyielding, he wouldn't have, So, and then, but ultimately, it just came down to him saying, "Okay, I'm done," and so he just puts Thexus like right in the middle of the table, and just does all these weird things and leaves him there naked. And so I have to move 1 model, and then I just put a storm wall to his face. So
At that point, yeah.
yeah, poor Thexus. So, but it feels good to play War Machine. I love War Machine. So, and
Yeah, I was just lamenting a couple days ago about missing it. I
yeah,
haven't gotten to play in so long, even before COVID.
yeah. Well, it's fun. I also had my my striker Archon on the table, and he's pretty cool. So he has that -5 within, or -2 within 5 inches in line of sight, and
Yeah.
that came into play. And so I thought he was going to go after my Archon quickly, but he didn't. So he probably should have. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, hey, speaking of games, speaking of missing games, today's topic is really looking forward to the chance when we get to play games again. And we have we have 3 questions that we've put together as sort of like one major topic. And we want to thank one of our Patreon supporters. We want to thank Perry, who on our private Discord channel threw out some things he would love to hear us talk about. And so
Throughout an avalanche of ideas.
avalanche of ideas. He earned a lot of watermelons that day. And for those of you that don't know what watermelons are, join our Discord. But but anyway, so basically 3 questions, and probably ask and answer them maybe in order. But I'm going to put all 3 out right now, and then we can just kind of navigate through them. The first question is, how have your thoughts on remote gaming versus in-person gaming changed over this last year? The second question is did you find you had enough gaming content online with podcasts and streams? And then the third question is, as people get vaccinated and things get safer, potentially even by early summer, what are you looking forward to most gaming-wise? So that's sort of the conversation that we're going to have today, and I'm excited about it. So let's start with the first one. How have your thoughts on remote gaming versus in-person gaming changed?
Yeah, this one's kind of like the big one, right? Since most of us were only be able to do remote. At least for me, that was the big change, right? I didn't really have much interest in do any remote, like War Machine, for example, right? I did 0 games virtually before all this, right? Before like a year ago. And so I kind of made the decision of like, well, might as well dive in a bit and learn. First it's the learning curve and certain time, and it feels different and kind of weird, but due to like War Table especially, made that much easier. And so joining that in and being able to play some tournaments, and I mean, what was neat about it, right, is playing people from across the world almost, right? I think one guy was in New Zealand, the Doyle up in Canada. Actually got to play him. That was cool. Some people on the East Coast, another person like in Europe, and so that was a neat experience. Being able to play this wide variety of meta was very interesting, and then that just kind of opened my horizons up. The online was pretty cool, and I did it for a while, and then kind of got busy anyway, so I haven't played online even in a bit. But for the most part, my view kind of changed from I'd rather play in person to there's some options and good parts aspects of the online play. I think in person is still going to be great and a lot of fun and somewhat easier in the fact of being able to see the models. I guess for me, it was online play. It was a little harder to kind of recognize what models off the icons and really take in as much of what's going on the board. Granted, measuring was much more precise and you could throw up your auras. So that was the other aspect, is it kind of turned into a training tool as well, where you could quickly try new things and also work on positioning a bit better. Is kind of what I took away from that a bit too. Is I had a couple gotchas with people hitting me with stuff. I was like, oh, that's what that guy was. I didn't even realize that was XYZ model, right? But it helped more with a lot of positioning and figuring out. So I think I've definitely opened up more to the idea of online gaming than I was before, for sure.
Yeah. I think I have similar thoughts as you. Before COVID, I don't think I played anything online ever. And even in the beginning, probably because I didn't know how long the whole thing would last. I was sort of resistant to trying it. And then finally, when War Table was announced or whatever, I gave it a try, and I actually played a fair amount of games on War Table in the beginning, I think, and it was super easy. Like once I learned, like, oh, this is what you do, and I even like watched people. Like Ron would play a game and he would post the link to the game, and so I would just put it up on the browser and I would be doing something else and listening to them talking and watching them play, which probably will, I don't know, bleed into my next statement about that. Would probably bleed into the next question, so I'm going to skip that. But just and then I even like signed up for a Malifaux Vassal League. And so I've done War Machine on War Table, Malifaux on Vassal, and then I did an Infinity League on TTS, Tabletop Simulator. So I've done basically the three major online services for gamers, and I did 3 different games for it. And what's crazy is I have less experience, with Malifaux and Infinity than I do War Machine, and so I'm learning a new device, like a new thing, and I'm learning a new game at the same time. It was bonkers. Yeah. And so my problem with the TTS is there were actually parts of the map that wouldn't load for me. And so you can scroll around and spin around in 360, like it's gorgeous. Like some really great maps can be put out for Infinity, and you can even see the silhouettes, so you know what you're looking at. You hover over them, it says their names, and even some stats can be revealed. I think I can't remember which ones exactly, but there were parts of the map where it was just a white block, like it just wouldn't load for me. and which made it hard to interact. And like, oh, is
Yeah.
there something there? Because I don't know. And so the person would hover a cursor or something and say, "See this? No, I don't see that." And so so you're playing with like a little technology handicap. But what I found with gaming online versus gaming in person is the online games took longer.
Yeah.
And because they
I can
took
imagine.
longer, and because I'm not looking at another human across the table from me, I found myself getting very distracted. Kind of like how you're sitting in an online meeting for work and someone just goes on and on and on, and you start like clicking over to the other browser or you're playing solitaire or something. And like I never did those things, but like I had the urge to do those things.
Yeah.
Because it was just taking so long. And the other side of it is and also even on my turn, it was taking so long because I wasn't well versed with the thing. So that wasn't my opponent's fault or anything. It was the
Yeah.
format. I was just simply less engaged. I'm finding that with my D&D group. Like I am way less engaged than I used to be when we were meeting in person. Like, and so it's just the whole thing for me personally. But to answer the question explicitly, have my thoughts changed? Yeah, I would say a year ago, before COVID, I was 100 against it because I was like, I don't want to do it. It's not my preferred. But now I'm like 100 for it because it got me playing games. And so even with all of the troubles, and the struggles and the not being able to see things and the time, just knowing that option is there, I'm all in. So, yeah. How about you, Chad?
I was a little bit interested in War Table at the beginning when it became available. I wasn't doing any like D&D groups or anything like that. Most of my online gaming has been pretty much just video games, various ones, and um, during part of this, or at least during the fall, and I noticed that some of the I started getting an urge to like wanting to play some D&D and do something at least, and getting involved in a couple of different groups through Roll20 have been just fine. There's definitely some times where the dice just feel like they're just rolling low that night.
Yeah.
Like there's only so far you can get, and I'll readdress this a little bit later too, or in a second. Is there's only so random a computerized randomness can get, and I'm a little bit of a I have a little bit of dice. What's the word I'm looking for? Not skepticism, but oh my gosh, I can't think of what it like. I kind of believe in like the dice mojo, for lack of a better term. Yes, I'm a little bit dice. There we go. A little dice superstitious to some degree. Not in particular, like certain dice I always roll for certain things, or these ones roll better because they're pretty. But like, it's a little bit difficult to describe because there have definitely been times when I've been playing competitive War Machine where you have the dice in your hand and you're thinking about, do I boost? Do I not boost? Do I boost? Do I not boost? And you just feel lucky in that roll, and you decide not to boost, and you roll, and you hit it anyway, or you're looking at a potential ability for a reroll or something like that. There's something in that natural kind of instinct of being in the moment, weighing your odds, having the dice in your hands, and waiting to drop them to see what the result is, that does not translate to the digital tabletop. And it's something that I miss. And it was part of the reason why I could never get into playing War Table. And again, as I said before, a second ago, is like, there's only so random that you can get in something that is programmed to be random. And I honestly, in a game like War Machine where you rely on getting odds, getting the even odds, the even spread, or the averages so much, I don't see it being. I I don't see it being fun in a digital format because I've just heard small anecdotes from other people where you just roll like crap all night or something like that, or has like your opponent needs to roll an 11 and they hit the box cars and then go to do damage and it's box cars again, and like that type of thing happens. I don't know. It's a little bit skeptic of me is like I know that thing happens in real life. Like
Right.
random phenomena like that happen in real life. When it's a digital randomization and it happens back to back, it feels a little less random to me. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's the digital computer programming that's like just poking fun. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just doesn't feel the same to me, and I just didn't really have any interest in devoting the time to try and get used to the war table format or try playing Monpok on TTS. I know there's been some people that were doing that a whole bunch. I just didn't really have any desire to, and so what I instead
Yeah.
started doing was focusing more on doing some hobbying stuff because I was already sitting at
Yeah.
home, or started playing some games with some other friends and enjoying that. And I'm not against it. I absolutely see the virtues of it and the benefits of it. It's not really for me, but if other people can, like Jeremiah or Dan, who got to play more games via War Table and Brawl Machine because they could play it at home late at night when their kids were in bed and they didn't have to worry about getting to and from a game store or whatever. Like, it's totally great for the people who it works for. It just doesn't really work for me. The D&D thing has still been okay. I've been a part of a couple of different campaigns. It is a little bit difficult. It has been a little bit difficult joining your campaign, Jeremiah, because I only know you and Wes. I don't know anyone else,
Yeah.
and some of the other guys kind of sound very similar to me. And without being able, and I don't know their names to voices, and so
Right.
I have had difficulty figuring out who's who and what and which characters and such. But that's also a game where we're playing kind of infrequently, with it being every other week and sometimes missing weeks. So sometimes we have like a month between sessions or something, and that doesn't help for me trying to get better association.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely hear some of that. Like, I agree. Games took longer. That was one of the big things, is games taking much longer. And for dice rolls, I feel I was on the receiving end one time where it was like rolled ones on 2 dice, and then on the next attack I was like, I got to hit this, so I'm going to boost it, and I roll 3 more ones.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is incredibly low. And then I'm like, okay, so my next guy goes, and I roll 3 dice again, and it's a 1-1-2. I'm like, this is not feeling good.
Yeah.
And then game basically over at that point. Again,
Yeah.
could happen in
And,
real
like,
life.
It could happen in real life, but in at the same time, I still like my superstition. You could grab some other dice and roll
Yes.
something different, and you can't do that digitally. You
He's
can't
going
put
to
your
dice
dice
jail.
in the dice jail for rolling snake eyes and grab something else. You're stuck with whatever's randomly rolled.
I totally get that. Been there.
And my casino dice and I have a very long history. Of one of my old coworkers went out to Spirit Mountain. I think it was Memorial Day weekend or something, years and years and years ago, and got me a good handful of casino dice from Spirit Mountain here in Oregon. And
Nice.
like I've used those things for probably, I can't even tell you how many games. I've been using them for 7 or 8 years or so. Like I think I've been using them since like 2012 or something like that. Like I've been
Yeah.
using them for so long playing War Machine, maybe even longer than that. It may have been like 2011. But like I've been using them, and we have a bond. We have a good understanding of each other, and I have a good feeling with them. They've done me well. They've certainly bit me, but they've done me extremely well in the years, and it's not the same not throwing them.
Yeah.
How about this last year when it comes to just having content online with other podcasts um, and other streams like Twitch or YouTube Live and things like that.
I've had a mixed relationship with that. Where kind of in the beginning, I was like, oh, I have a little bit of time. I catch up on some of the backlog, just the way schedules were kind of going and things were happening, right? And then I went through a period where I had like no time to really like read that stuff or listen to podcasts. And so I kind of started gaining a backlog. And then a little bit recently, just again, the way travel, because I'd usually listen while driving. Well, I'm not really driving as many miles or as long as I used to, right? And so that some of that's picked back up. I've caught back up a little bit on some episodes and content, but I don't think I ever had a lack of podcasts. And again, especially with like you call it like War Nouns and some of the other sites and other people have been putting out a lot of stuff. I almost think there's been more podcasts popping up, but on side of like battle reports, I kind of miss some bat reps. There's really nothing so much new, and that's been a little harder because I guess it's good and bad, right? Is not really kind of learning from that or gaining some things, especially War Machine. What's kind of the current meta, right? What lists are working, what aren't? So when things do come back up, there's going to be maybe a wide open meta when no one's going to know what's going to work and what's not anymore. But really, that's just it. And with some of the other games, I just like War Table. I kind of like said links, and I just couldn't quite as much get into watching that as much of the like I said, the excitement level's a little bit lower. Overall, I haven't really found a lack, like I said, of podcast wise, but YouTube and video wise, definitely a more shortage of games. But it's allowed me to catch up more on hobby videos, I guess, is what I spent that time on. So I've been all right.
I quit listening to podcasts a long time ago. Quit listening to War Machine podcasts a long time ago. Or other types of podcasts or anything. And then last fall, I decided to start watching or listening to the second campaign of Critical Role. I'd watched one of the much later episodes, just kind of out of interest, with no context of what was going on, and I really enjoyed the role playing of it. And it was an episode, it was almost an entire episode with no combat at all in it. And it was very interesting and very fascinating to watch. Yes, they're voice actors that have experience playing different characters, but it was also just very interesting to watch people role play their characters, because it was not something that I had ever really had a lot of experience with. I had one friend in a campaign a long time ago, a couple of years ago, in a Pathfinder campaign that was very into role playing his character and trying to do interactions like that. But at that point, that wasn't quite the type of game that I was looking for, and so like I didn't really engage in it. And also like I was newer to RPGing again because I hadn't done it very much, and my character was also very kind of a standoffish person that wasn't really open to the rest of the group. So it kind of fit there. But it was very interesting to watch, and so I became kind of pseudo obsessed with it, and just started binge listening to episode after episode after episode of podcast form, and then watching the live shows from a couple of years ago when they were actually recorded before COVID, and then caught up, and I'm to the point where like I'm watching one of the most recent episodes, and there may have been another one that dropped today. But I've been doing that a lot while I've been either gaming or doing some hobbying and things. And but yeah, definitely had some content. It was just different content from what it was before. And I personally don't since I don't really play any War Machine really competitively anymore. I don't have as much interest in watching battle reports and battle reports to me were always kind of like, unless you do a lot of like a bunch of editing and posts and stuff like that, it's kind of boring to watch a War Machine game sometimes, unless you got a lot of extra production and stuff going into it where people are talking about things and shortening up gaps where someone goes in the tank for 15 minutes trying to figure out what they're doing for their turn.
Yeah. I feel like there is actually more content than ever. I certainly like on the Infinity side, I know a handful of channels that were created during the COVID time. And so people are, but the kind of content that they're putting out is more digital, right? So they're streaming their tabletop simulator or their Vassal games or even their war table games. And so you're getting some reppy kind of stuff sometimes, but instead of having pictures of models on the table, you're seeing, digital renditions of it. And I don't know, I have a sort of obsessive sort of collector way of looking at things. And so like I'll go, like if I learn a new podcast, for example, and I'll go back and download a bunch of their episodes and just binge on them. And, I mean, I did the same thing that you're doing with Critical Role with a number of podcasts. But there was a moment during the COVID year where I just stopped listening to podcasts altogether. I stopped, watching things on YouTube altogether. And for a while, I even forgot my Twitch password, so that wasn't happening too. So, but the thing that I found is that the more that I watched and listened to those things, the more I actually wanted to play, and that longing was incongruous with the experience I was having in real life.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deal with the longing because it made me more sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
that's kind of where I am with Critical Role too. Is it made me want to play a lot more D&D, and one of the groups in particular that I'm in is kind of full of some power gamers who just want to hit stuff and aren't really interested in doing any role playing. And it makes it kind of difficult when it's like I want to try and do some interesting role playing, and I'm just not quite finding a group to be able to explore that.
Yeah. So I will say though that I'm starting to re-engage some online content again, and so I'm listening again, and it's making me want to play more, but it's okay. Like I'm okay, not in the danger zone right now. So, and maybe it's because I got a chance to actually play War Machine recently, and and Oz and I are talking about his next Malifaux war band he wants to put together, and so Oz only plays a few games of the games that I play, so I have to. For all the other games,
you play all of them.
So. All the games, right? Yeah. So I have to wait until things are more open before I can play a lot of those other games. But in house with Oz, I can play a fair number of games, and so I have to get my fix there. So,
I still need to try and introduce my roommates to Riot Quest. It's just so much of it is. I think so much of it is also like myself and one of my roommates are currently still working full time. I think by the time the evening rolls around, we just want to do other stuff. We don't really want to. Maybe one of these Sundays when we have our friend Javi over, who also plays some minis games. He does some painting and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bust it out and introduce it to people because
doesn't one of your roommates play Monpok?
Yes. Actually, both of them do. Both of them have Monpok models, but it's been a very long time since either of them played.
Yeah. Oz was working on some Monpok over the weekend, so I think Monpok's going to be in our future. So Hey, that's actually maybe a good transition point to our third question. As people get vaccinated and things get safer potentially by early summer, what are you looking forward to most gaming wise?
Playing. I mean,
Well,
Dan,
yeah.
are you gonna actually make time to make it out to the game store?
I didn't say it in the game. Actually, I got acquired a new neighbor about 3 houses down that I'll be able to
That's
play
right.
games with. But yeah,
That's cool.
so yeah, that's one of those things. And like I said, it's kind of looking forward to just some of the interaction, handshakes and hugs, right? Go along, putting a face
I
in
don't
it.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be hugging anybody right away, but I know what you mean. Well, what games, Dan? What games? So put your feet to the fire. What games specifically do you want to play?
Specifically, I'd like to find some people to play Marvel Crisis Protocol, but it's a long shot around here, it seems.
There's a lot of buzz about it, but I feel like all the people that are buzzing and interested in it are kind of scattered.
Well, and that's just it. A lot of people are like,
place.
a superhero game. I don't need any more superheroes in my life. I'm inundated, right? So there's that. BattleTech would be good. I've recently been dreaming up more troll lists and like pairings, and so it's like I kind of want to put some boards on the table, and so I think those would be my top 3 that I want to get playing. Then secondary for quick games would be like get some gas lay-ins, and at least I can kind of play that in-house somewhat.
That's right, you can.
Yeah, do some Monpoc, maybe some Age of Sigmar or something. Dip my toe into the GW universe a little light, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the other side. Got to get some of that. So they have fully painted art to play.
Yes.
All
That's right.
right.
You have a painted army.
Yep.
I'm still gray. No, I think I'm primed. At least I primed them, I think.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Monpoc is high on my list because that's a game that I also play. Conquest, because that's a new army that I picked up during the COVID year that I want to play. Same thing with War Master. So I want to show you guys this. No, our listeners can't see, but what
audio.
I'm holding in front of you is 1,000 points of War Master. This is half an army, and look how little space it takes up. Anyway,
you say that now.
I say that now. Anyway, so War Master, I'm actually getting pretty jazzed about Age of Sigmar again. There's a lot of folks on our Discord that are talking about Age of Sigmar, and
a lot of people buzzing about it.
Yeah, I'm getting my my big centerpiece model painted by Wes for my clan Eshin. So I'll have 1,000 points of beautiful clan Eshin to put on the table. And then if I want to do 2,000 with somebody, I'll have to mix clans, but that's fine. So I'm working on those other clans casually as I speak. But
the book club, the book club was reading through the Warcry rules recently too, weren't they?
No, Conquest.
Conquest right now.
Oh,
Warcry later, I think.
Yeah, Warcry's on the list. Yeah,
okay.
And actually, I want to play Warcry. I've got a nice, Night Hunt warband that's just waiting to be put on the table. Yeah. And so, Warcry seems like a fun thing too. There's a lot of people interested in that too in our Discord. So,
Infinity! I forgot Infinity.
Yeah, I have like a list of at least 12 other things that I want to play. Those are my tops right now.
I think Dan's list was just all the stuff that he has models for.
Yeah,
probably
just about
at least.
Yeah. It's like I want to play anything. Just let me play anything.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play some War Machine again.
Nice.
Or at least try to anyway. I have a couple. I have a list or two that I had built that look kind of interesting. with some of the changes to some of the recent models. Well, one small thing is the Selena and the Nis Hunters recently got a points change to be a lot less expensive, and they are a fantastic shooting unit. And a great slot into Secret Masters. And I used to rail on Secret Masters a lot back in the day because I felt like it needed a lot of help. It felt like there weren't very many good options for Warlock for the army. Plus, like so much of the minion stuff, like needs help. Like they want some sort of other buffs because they're a little bit less than, um, and they want like either some buffs or a little bit more synergy with whatever their warlock is, and Circle doesn't really do that. But Tanith got an update, and I've heard some very good things about the couple of minor tweaks to her stat card and stuff. Made her a lot better, a lot more promising for Secret Masters. The change to Selena and the Nis Hunters is a really welcome change because it's a very, very effective shooting unit for not 20 points. They used to be 19, and I think they're down to 15 for a full unit, which is a major, major difference.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to maybe try and play around with a list with either Tanith or Kruger 2 in Secret Masters. And
Nice.
I think that Secret Masters might have slowly, in a very roundabout way, started becoming one of the stronger theme lists in Circle, especially as more Riot Quest models come out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to War Machine. I've got a handful of other things that like I'm kind of interested in. The second most is I'm almost done assembling all the stuff that I need for my all bikes Dark Angel list. And my coworker and the store owner running board have started getting into 40K more. And started playing some games either on TTS or have been doing some demo games in store after hours, starting to play the game more. And I don't know. I feel like the stuff that I have for Death Guard can't play the way that they're supposed to play. I feel like there's more components to it that I need and a lot of research that I need to do, and I just don't want to expend the energy or the money. Because like the little bit of advice that I've gotten from outside about like, oh, the things that I need to get to be a Death Guard player is I need 2 to 3 rhinos for troop transport, and then I need 2 to 3 plague burst crawlers. And it's like I don't want to dump $200 into buying 6 vehicles to try and make an army playable. Like I just don't. That's not exciting to me. I don't want to do that right now. And so I just kind of have them on the back, and also like I'm starting to see is like they've been a really fun army to amass and paint and put on the table occasionally, but they just don't play the way that I want to play. They are a slow attrition type list, similar to like Trolls, and that's just not my style of play. I want to be fast and hit hard and be dodgy and mobile, and they just aren't that. And this bike list that I'm looking at looks like it's got a lot of the stuff that kind of speaks to me a little bit more as a player and this play style and everything. So those are the 2 most. And then Wes has a trade proposition for me of trading a couple of Gene Stealer cult vehicles for his God tier stuff that he has. And nice. I keep thinking about it, but I haven't committed on it yet because I'm trying to take care of some other stuff, and then it's also like it's a pile of more miniatures that I don't need added to my backlog that I'm trying to work through this year.
But I keep telling myself, the way the God tier works, it's not a bad thing. It's accessible and easy to teach your roommate, for example. And
and the other thing too is like the amount of stuff that he has is it's both of the starters plus I think 6 or 7 other heroes. So it's like it's almost all of the heroes that are available, which is a really wide selection. And not only that, it also means it's a wide selection for the game is supposed to be played with 3 heroes and their warbands. So like you even get some variation there if you're using 6 of the 10 or 11 models. You've got a pretty sizable amount of combinations and depth to the game there. I just kind of keep telling myself, like, it's more of kind of like if I can get rid of the Trollbloods army that I have and get rid of not, not only the backlog of those miniatures to potentially paint in the future, but also just get rid of those miniatures from sitting around in my apartment, I will feel a little bit less bad about amassing another chunk of miniatures to sit on the shelf until I can get around to working on them.
Yeah.
Reminds me of kind of the joke that we had going on, a little discussion about, like the buying miniatures beforehand was like, challenge yourself before you buy a mini, do a small work, do a workout, like a 10-minute workout equals 1 miniature or something like that. You're going to get in shape real fast or you'll have less minis. One way or the other, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what's on your guys' hobby desk right now? What are you building? What are you painting?
So I've recently I undertook re-inventorying my trolls and, splaying them all out. And then one broke his staff, the shaman, the cold shaman. And so that really is a bummer.
Oh, no.
So I got to repair that. So that's on my repair list. And then doing some inventory of other stuff. But my main thing has been a resin printer, having that set up and just running that thing, putting it through some paces, doing all sorts of different models with it. My goal is to have a video on that in about, not this week, probably next week. So a week after this drops, that video should be out. It's gonna kind of show my novice ability at printing and setting up and just all the cool things you can make that I'll create my own backlog. So
yeah.
Sea of Green. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give some of those minis to some of our Patreons and so forth. Just
Nice.
as I don't need it, so here, you guys take it, deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I got to see a couple of things you printed. Some of them look really nice. So
I really like just the level of detail you can get out of it and stuff with somewhat ease. But anyway, yeah. And I also have now an army of Yoshi Knights. So you have to see I have no idea what to do with all those. So
nice. Right.
Well, I've got some of my Dark Angels bikes list currently sitting on my desk. One of my friend Javi, who came over yesterday, has a 3D printer and printed me some oval bases for them, because another local in our group found some old Space Marine attack bikes that they had in their box of bits that they weren't going to use. So they let me have them. It's 4 of them, and with the attack bike, I can snap the sidecar and the dude off of there, and I have just a bike. And I've used the leftover parts from another kit to turn them into Ravenwing Black Knights for this list that I'm building. So it saved me from having to buy 2 more boxes of 2 more specific boxes so that I could build the other 4 models. So I have 1 more base to file down, and then I've got to glue that on there. And I've almost finished amassing that list, and then eventually, once that's done, I'll probably prime it and then paint it all in one project. I've also got a couple of Gellerpox infected models that I painted a long time ago that I'm going to do some basing on and then take them to the store to put into the new display cases that have all of the Death Guard in there, and I'll treat them. If I use them in the future, I'll just treat them as Chaos Spawn, because they're like about the same size. I think I've got a bunch of, I've got a unit of Skinwalkers and a unit of Wolves of Orboros that are sitting above my desk in a tray that just need the base flocking done to them, and then they're finished. And I think I'm going to try and do that. It was my plan to do that earlier today, and then I had to help my dad with something. My day kind of got shifted around, so I'm probably going to try and do some basing stuff here when we get done recording. And I need to try and get into the habit of getting some more hobby stuff. I've been getting distracted recently with other things lately. Haven't made much progress on my backlog, but
That's all right. But every time you do something, it's good. You're making progress. So
yeah.
I got some foam for my Cephalix army and discovered that a few things have broken. And so before I've been putting them in the foam, I've been having to repair them. The thing is it's fine because they're not fully painted. They're all mid-project anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't feel bad. But Vexus has a million arms, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to get him fixed because I want to tackle Ozzy and do a Vexus on Vexus mirror match. So, but that'll be fun. But
That
the
sounds
biggest
awful.
thing, it's going to be fun. We both like that style, but he likes to run. He likes to run monstrosity heavy, and I like to run dude heavy. Like I want to throw 60 dudes at him, and he wants to throw like less than that.
Seven monstrosities.
Yeah, I think he has that many. So the thing is, he can. So yeah, and with Spell Driver, he can cast through them or something. I don't know. He can do something with them. So
yeah.
But the biggest thing on my desk is the Death Archon. So I built that a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to use the Scale 75 instant paints that I had kickstarted, and so I did the brush on primer at one of our recent paint parties, and actually I think last week and then I let it dry for about 24 hours, and then I started working on it yesterday afternoon, and I'm really, really, really liking the results. So
good.
I think the wings on that Death Archon are probably the best wings I've ever done personally, and so I did 3 or 4 different colors, and with a mix of some of them with medium and some of them without, to try to get shadows and shades and different things. And I'm going for kind of a brighter color look with I mean, it's the Death Archon, so like he could probably stand to be really dark, but but I don't really like dark things, and so we're going yellow and red, and it's still kind of deathy looking, so it's cool. So, but
very cool.
I basically have his body detail on the things that are around his waist, and then his armor and the scythe things that he's holding, and that's what I have left. And some of those aren't going to be done with the Scale 75. Some of those are going to be done with other paints, some P3 paints that I have. So, but yeah, pretty excited about that. Pretty excited about that. So, I thought it was a good episode. I hope that everyone who's listening, you're thinking maybe those same 3 questions that we asked ourselves, and I hope that you guys are looking forward to getting real games in and things like that. I have 3 things to share with you. One is you definitely want to check out our Facebook page. There was a shared post last week with Nelson Mini Painting, and Nelson is Mini Painting is going to be our guest on next week's episode. And on his page, they're doing a giveaway for an army box of Heavy Gear Blitz, and so the same game that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. And so you have to like and comment or something to be entered into the giveaway. And then next week, live on our podcast, he's going to announce the winner. And so
very cool.
Pretty excited about that. So and we're going to get a chance to just meet another content creator and find out how they got into the hobby and things that they do. And pretty excited about that. So that's one thing to announce. The other thing, paint party. We had an excellent paint party this last week. Man, it was so good. Just a great conversation. All of us getting work done. And so I want to invite everyone, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, on our Discord. Join, and you can do just audio if that works for you, but a lot of us share our videos so that we can see our faces and we can share what we're painting. And then, as Chad mentioned earlier, we have started a book club this month. The book club is we are all reading the rule set for the new game Conquest. The rules are free online, and you have until the end of the month, and we're going to have an online meeting on our Discord where we're going to talk about the game, and then we'll also set the next book for the following month. The goal with the book club is that we would read something on a monthly basis, and at the end of the month we would all get together and talk about what we read. We're gonna alternate, I think, depending on who gets to pick, but like between rule sets and like sci-fi fantasy books that are kind of related to the gaming world and things and stuff like that. So and it's one of those things where you can hop on. You don't have to read every book every month. You can sit in, you can join for this month, you can sit out, you can join the next month, sit out, that sort of thing. It's all up to you. The goal is we want to try to create good community, and we want to inspire everyone to play more games. That's what we do.
Yeah.
What do you think we wrap up? I think we should wrap up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Find everything at spellstormminiatures.com. Also, in our Discord, there's links there, all the things. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.